Well, greetings, everyone. Welcome to the Apptrepreneur Show. I am your host, Kevin, the Apptrepreneur, and welcome to another day of getting your daily dose of gig economy, Amazon, e-commerce, streaming, and maybe even something fun like Disney or Sega once in a while. So, welcome to the show, and this is actually the end of the first week of trying this little experiment. And the experiment was, because here's the thing, I have multiple channels. I'm very open about that. I have multiple channels, and therefore I talk an awful lot. And I have made videos for those channels almost every day, but it gets to be a lot of work. And I kind of came to the realization, you know what? I want to interact with my audience a little bit more. I want to give them a chance to be part of the conversation. Why don't we do it where we put all the different topics into one live stream? People who want to join in on that live stream and ask questions and make comments, we can do that. And then we will break up the episode into little videos and disperse them throughout the channels. Therefore, people get more content and they can watch the show however they want. And I believe it has been a success. Hello, Andrew. How are you doing? So we will continue this next week. There will be a few minor changes, but it won't be much. First of all, we are officially calling what we do the Apptrepreneur Show, and I will be getting a logo to highlight which videos are this longer podcast, as if the, length didn't tip you off. Also, pretty much all bets are off. We're going to talk about whatever I want here. So if you want to be part of the conversation and know that it will definitely divert away from the rideshare and e-commerce topic once in a while, you're free to do so. But if you just want those particular topics, those videos will be, the next day, which we've already been doing. And the second thing is we will be doing this video a little later. It will be a little later than, usual. Because when we first started doing it, there were a couple days where I would put the videos up at, 6:37, 8 a.m., and then I would start the podcast at 12. And then on some days I would start the podcast at 2. I've noticed that when we start at 12, not a lot of people show up, and it makes sense. A lot of people are probably at work. So we will be starting around 3 or later on a daily basis. So we will have that consistent schedule. And that's how we're going to do it from now on. Maybe 3:30, who knows? But yeah, I've been enjoying making the videos this way. I've been enjoying talking to all of you after we do all the main topics. And of course, as always, if you have a question or a comment, even if I am not looking at the live chat, feel free to send it the way. Put it in the chat room. We will be answering all these questions after the show. But before we begin talking about the topics, I do want to share a little story, a personal story. And I want to share this story because it's really kind of opened my eyes to something. So, a few months ago, when the lockdowns had first started, I was thinking that social media was going to be a good thing for us. Because, hey, we're all locked down, we can't see one another, and while we could call one another, it's pretty easy to check in how we're doing, what is our day going like, and, hey, I might even have time to update the Apptrepreneur Hangouts a lot more. But pretty quickly after the shutdown occurred, I realized Facebook was, in fact, a nightmare. It had become way worse than I had ever seen it before. It seems like what happens when you lock a bunch of people in their house and they're scared and they're frustrated and they're angry is that instead of saying, hey, how's everyone doing? What books should I be reading? What show should I be streaming? They spend their whole day complaining about Donald Trump. Or they spend their whole day complaining about Nancy Pelosi. Or they spend their whole day shaming people who do not agree with the whole mask rule. And then the people who don't like to wear masks complain that it's a conspiracy, the whole C virus thing. And it just became annoying. I was starting to block more people than I was talking to them. And it even started creeping up in the Apptrepreneur Hangouts, that little Facebook group that is no longer there, and thus, yes, I know I need to update the setting. And I decided, you know what, I'm going to get off of it. I shut down my Apptrepreneur Hangouts on Facebook, and I temporarily suspended my Facebook account. Interestingly, I did not get off Twitter, but on the other hand, Twitter, I don't know a lot of people there personally, so the stupidity of Twitter does not affect me quite the same way as the stupidity that Facebook does. And it has now been pretty much 3 months since I have not been on Facebook, and you know what? I don't miss it at all. In fact, dare I say it, my life is happier without Facebook in it. I think that when you stay off social media, especially during rough times, you feel a little better about the world. Now, some people might say, well, that's you sticking your head in the sand. No, it's not. You still check the news every day. You still watch, Governor Cuomo's little daily briefings and everything like that. You still do all that jazz. But you know what I'm not doing? I'm not spending every waking minute of my day, or many minutes of my day, looking at people who seem to be having a constant meltdown. I know someone, and I didn't even know this was a thing, who was actually afraid that Bill Gates was the Antichrist, and spent all day posting articles about how Bill Gates was out to destroy the world, and he was going to use this pandemic to introduce the mark of the beast. And I didn't know what to say. It's like, I don't need this in my life. This is not fun. This is not helpful. So I got off Facebook, and let me tell you, it is one of the best decisions I have ever made. I'm so much happier not being on Facebook. So I want to share that with all of you and encourage you to maybe take a break of social media once in a while. You would be very, very surprised on how beneficial it really is to not be on Facebook. And I would like to take this moment to ask you, have any of you gotten off Facebook? And if so, what's your life like now? Do you think it's better? Do you think it's worse? What are you thinking? I'd love to know this one. So comment below and like, favorite, share, subscribe. Now, with that personal story out of the way, let's discuss the first topic of the day. And since we were just touched a little bit briefly about the masks on the Facebook comments that I made, it should be noted that there be masks ahead. But masks have been a controversial topic, not just for the rideshare community, but for anyone. There's a lot of people who think the masks don't do anything. Then there's some people who acknowledge that there's some slowdown when you wear the masks, but because they can still catch it, they would rather not wear the mask. Then you believe there are people who think you absolutely must wear the mask, and, there's just no excuse not to. And then you have people who are sort of on the fence. It's like they understand that it slows things down, but they don't like them, so they would rather not do it. Well, here's the thing. Uber and Lyft in America now requires everyone to wear a mask, whether you are a driver or a passenger. Interestingly, I have some viewers who I have not heard from a while, so they must be a little upset with me that I take the stance that you should definitely wear your masks. But they feel that, hey, you know what? I don't want to wear a mask in Uber. That I'm an independent contractor. It's my car. It's my rules. I set my own schedule. I'm independent. Therefore, I should not have to wear masks, and I should not have to require my passengers wear masks. Which, to that, I'm just going to say, well, this is why you're not an independent contractor. It's one of the many reasons you are not an independent contractor. People come here and they say, I don't want to be an employee. Shut up. You're an employee. Uber says wear the mask. Guess what? You're going to wear the mask or you're going to get deactivated. Do you sound independent under those circumstances? I didn't think so. Shut up. You're an employee. You're just not being paid like an employee. And guess what? It's not just America, because the UK has now made it official, at least Uber UK, that face masks are mandatory for Uber passengers and drivers. This is pretty straightforward. Ride-sharing giant Uber is about to make it mandatory for passengers and drivers to wear face coverings from Monday in the UK. The minicab app firm said it was taking measures, quote, to help keep everyone safe, and had induced measures to give drivers access to protective equipment. Face coverings will become compulsory on public transport and in hospitals in England from Monday. It comes after a study suggests masks could cut C virus spread by up to 40%. Now, some people might look at that and say, well, it's only up to 40%. You know what? My argument, hey, if it can slow it down by even 10%, it might be worth it. If it's 40%, that's almost half. Hey, that's a pretty good statistic, okay? I know we're not going to eradicate this thing right away, and we still need a vaccination, but hey, I would rather keep other people safe. And again, the masks are there where in case you have it, you're not spreading it. So even if it won't protect you from getting it, wear it and protect your fellow man, your fellow neighbor, the old lady whose milk you carry down the street. Just, show a little courtesy in that. But anyway, Uber drivers in London will have to submit a picture of themselves to verify they are following the new rules before they can begin working. Other measures include trialing in-car partitions in Newcastle, Tyne, and Ware, distributing more than 2 million masks to drivers, and sending out 54,000 units of cleaning spray and hand sanitizer, which, Uber in America promised to do that. I don't know if they actually got around to it. Uber's regional general manager for Northern and Eastern Europe, Jamie Haywood, said, "For months we've been urging people to stay home for their safety and the safety of drivers who make essential trips. But screw that, we need to make money now." So, no, I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. Now, as cities begin to reopen and people start moving again, we're taking measures to help everyone stay safe and healthy every time they use Uber. So, here's the thing. I will acknowledge this sentence right here. There have been passionate disagreements over this within the world of science, whether or not the masks are effective. So, let's acknowledge that. There are disagreements. I believe that they do something. It just makes a little bit of sense. I mean, a barricade will slow something at the very least. Maybe not completely prevent it, but it will slow it. And then there's some people who think it doesn't do anything at all. And you know what? Yeah, there are some masks that I see and it's like, I don't think that's actually going to help. But here's the reality. There are still more scientists that say that the masks do help than scientists who don't. I mean, people come on my channel all the time and say, I've read scientists that say masks don't do anything. And it's like, and my response was like, well, I've read scientists that say global warming isn't real, but they're far fewer than the scientists who say it does exist. So, no. Just saying, you can find someone to scientifically agree with you on everything, which, by the way, comes around to my personal feelings that science in and of itself is probably more like religion than people realize, but we won't get into that topic right now. But here's the bottom line if you are an Uber driver. Because I just did this video yesterday where California certified, and they said, hey, Uber drivers, not independent contractors. They are employees. And it's been going to court, it's been going through the services, and, time and time again, they're finding that, Uber drivers are employees. And these are things that actually support that argument. Because, hey, if you were independent, you'd be able to say, screw the mask, I don't want it. And you would not be able to be let go, you would not be able to be deactivated or fired or whatever term you want to use. It's all the same general principle. Uber says, do something. You say, no, I'm independent. And Uber says, all right, well, we are going to respect your independence by not working with you, and therefore you lose your business. Because it's not like you're going to do this on your own without us, right? That's the point. So the UK is now making this mandatory, and everyone's going to have to deal with it, or else they will not be on Uber. It's that simple. So anyway, that's the first story. And again, I know it's a touchy subject. It really is. Nevertheless, I would like to hear your thoughts about it. This is a safe space. I'm not going to say I'm going to agree with everything you say, but it's a safe space where we can discuss things. I personally will not call you a sheep or an idiot or whatever just because you don't agree with me. I genuinely do like hearing what you have to say, even if I don't agree with you. So anyway, you know the drill. Comment below, like, favorite, share, subscribe, and as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one. With that said, hold on. Ooh, that's good. So anyway, with that down, let's talk about the second topic. And their second topic involves Postmates. Now, we don't talk about Postmates that often because they're frankly not big fish. And they don't rock the boat very often. It's kind of there, you know it's there, but you don't really talk about it much. And Postmates really doesn't go out of their way to become newsworthy. But they are newsworthy today because Postmates is actually pulling what I would call a Travis Kalanick, in which they were ordered to do something, and they basically pulled a Travis Kalanick, where Travis Kalanick would be ordered by the government to do something, and he would basically say no, and would do the exact opposite. Now then, what I'm talking about is Postmates fees. Now then, in most states and in most cities, because of the pandemic, the state and city governors, mayors, not the president, but most politicians have made it absolutely clear to these food app deliveries, you have to cap your percentage commission at 15%. Because they were starting to get, reports that some Postmates was charging people 30, sometimes 40% more on top of the order to have food delivered because they knew that people couldn't leave the house. So they were going to take advantage of that, and they were going to nickel and dime people. And much like the government frowns upon you price gouging on things like water and masks, we've talked about this in previous episodes the last couple days, they frown on these food companies charging a higher commission, basically knowing that people don't have a choice but to pay it. They want to eat, they can't leave the house, they have to have it delivered. Guess what? You're going to pay. And most governments said, no, you can't do that. And they put a limit on the cap. Some it was 10%, some it was 15%. I think 15 is a lot more reasonable. And for some it was 20%. Well, it appears that in Washington, D.C., it was a 15% commission fee cap. And apparently, Postmates is not complying with that order. So here's the article. When Mayor Muriel Bowser signed C-Virus emergency relief legislation on May 13th, a 15% commission fee cap on third-party delivery services took effect in the city. The cap, which forces large companies like Uber Eats, Grubhub, DoorDash, Caviar, and Postmates to reduce the share of money they take from restaurant orders, a fee that typically hovers around 30%, was an attempt to give DC's small, mostly independent restaurants some breathing room during the pandemic. Nearly 1 month later, DC restaurant operators report that Postmates continues to charge restaurants between 20 and 33% of each order. When Rasa co-founder Raul Vinod complained to the company, he received this response on June 3rd. Thank you for reaching out regarding the recent news about a Washington, D.C. fee cap. We are working with the Washington, D.C. My stutter. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to skip that word, folks. To understand the details of this new policy and the specifics of its implementation. Once we have clarity, we will be able to follow up and answer your questions. Please stay tuned for additional updates. Now, this is such a horse-donkey response. I try to keep the show family-friendly, so it's horse-donkey. I'm sorry. But, it's like, I love this. We are working with the Washington, D.C., to understand the details of this new policy and the specifics of its implementation. What don't you understand about this, Postmates? It's pretty simple. You don't charge more than 15% of the order to restaurants and customers. You just don't. It's that simple. But because they don't have the clarity, or maybe they're just willfully ignorant of the situation, they are continuing to charge more and more. This is ridiculous. So, Vinod says the other delivery platforms this restaurant works with complied shortly after Bowser signed off on the council's legislation, with the exception of DoorDash and Caviar. According to Vinod, DoorDash and Caviar preemptively slashed their rates in half to 12.5% at the start of the pandemic, and as of June 1st started charging 15%. Hey, you know what? I'm okay with that. That was actually kind of smart of DoorDash and Caviar to do. Hey, we're going to cut it so that we look like the good guys. And then the official order comes in like no more than 15%. They're like, oh, it can be 15? Okay, yeah, all right, we'll do 15% then. I don't have an issue with that personally. The other companies knew what was happening, Manon said. With delivery now accounting for 60 to 70% of Ross's business, every dollar counts. So basically, Postmates are basically just trying to play ignorant so that they can continue to price gouge the restaurants and the customers. Now, the funny thing is, I expected this to be an issue with Uber. I expected Uber to be the one out of all of them, Uber or DoorDash, like out of all these food delivery companies, to say, hey, you know what? We don't want to comply with this 15%. So let's delay. Let's let's haw. Let's kind of go back and forth. Let's see what happens if we don't say anything. Or if someone says, why are you still charging more than 15%? We'll just kind of go like, well, we're not sure of the specifics of this, so what do you say? And, you know, that's what it is. And by the way, one of my viewers, Jody, made a comment like, they knew what they are doing. They know what they are doing. They just don't give a you-know-what, and I tend to agree. I think Postmates are fully aware of what they are doing, and they don't care. They do not care. But the question becomes, what can they do about it? A lot of courts are still closed, and for that matter, even when they reopen, or if they are opened, there's going to be a lot of stuff going on because there was a protest, remember? And there's a lot of people who are in trouble right now, one way or the other. So the court systems might not even get around to this until much, much later, and by the time they do, the cap might even be removed. So now they can be sued retroactively for this, of course they can, but will anyone have the desire to do so? That's what I don't know. So anyway, that's going to be the end of that topic. Personally, I think that Postmates is being scummy about this, but maybe you have a different opinion. Maybe you have a perspective where Postmates could logistically say, we do not know what is going on with this, and I'd like to know what your thoughts on that are. So you know the drill. Comment below, like, favorite, share, subscribe, and as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one. 1 second, folks. It's actually rather hot today, which I know I should take this off since it's hot, but, you know, trademark, beanie, all that jazz. So, anyway. So, with that out of the way, let's talk about the third topic. And you may have been, if you've been following me for the last few months, and, you know, most of you have, you may be aware that Amazon has basically been firing employees who complain about working conditions in the warehouses. Amazon was a company that I had assumed was doing things correctly. Not assumed, but, you know, they were telling me what they were doing. They had outlined in press releases, this is what we're doing. We're going to pay people more. We're doing these things. And I thought, you know, give the devil credit where it's due. They seem to be taking this seriously. But shortly after Amazon outlined what they were doing to help the community and help their employees, we found out they really were not doing any of that at all. In fact, the press releases were just that. They were PR spins, and the company was really not equipped to deal with the pandemic at all, and more people were getting sick at Amazon warehouses than most places because Amazon was not implementing anything. Now, they seem to be doing okay now, from what I understand, but it took months for them to get that down. And in the meantime, some people complained that Amazon was not following safety rules. And Amazon's response to these people were to fire them. And they fired them basically saying that, hey, they weren't following the rules we set into place, so we're firing them. But interestingly, the guy who got fired, he was complaining to Amazon that Amazon wasn't following the rules that they put in place. So why does he get fired and not the guy who put the rules in place? I don't know. But anyway, we knew that this was going to come back to bite them, and New York is now reportedly investigating them for firing the employees. So, here's what the street has to say. The New York Attorney General is reportedly looking into whether Amazon retaliated against employees who criticized its labor practices. The New York AG has been interviewing Amazon workers in Amazon facilities throughout the state about whether Amazon violated labor laws in firing or other retaliation against workers who spoke out about warehouse conditions, according to CNBC. In April, the New York AG notified Amazon in a letter that it was looking into whether the company broke employment or whistleblower laws in firing a worker, Chris Smalls, who organized a strike at a Staten Island facility. Now the investigation has reportedly broadened to include other retaliatory actions Amazon may have taken against workers who spoke out about unsafe conditions at its facilities during the C virus pandemic. 8 Amazon workers have died after contracting the C virus, according to media reports, and many more have been infected across the U.S. In May, a group of state AGs sent Amazon and Whole Foods, its subsidiary, a letter asking for a state-by-state breakdown of C virus infections and deaths among Amazon workers. In the meantime, Amazon has allegedly fired or written up workers who either attempted to organize workers, participate in protests, or confronted management with concerns about warehouse conditions. Some of those workers also filed complaints with the National Labor Relations Board, according to CNBC. So here's the thing. I fully believe Amazon retaliated against these people. I fully do. Because here's the thing. Every time one of these people were fired and they went to the press and they said, hey, I was fired for doing this, Amazon would come back and they say, no, we fired them for this reason. No, we fired them for this reason. We fired them for this reason. And at some point you start getting a picture where it's like, okay, you're saying that you fired all these people for all these different reasons. But all of them were participating in protests, whistleblowing, and complaining to management about unsafe conditions. That is the common link. The link that connects everything. That's the link. So it becomes just a little suspicious. And you can't help but just look at that and say, I don't think you're actually letting these people go because they're breaking these rules. You're letting them go because they spoke out against the company. They made the company look bad. And the funny thing about all of it, frankly, is that, they would have gotten some bad press, like, hey, your employees are complaining about unsafe working conditions. That would have been bad, obviously. But you know what's worse? When you get that attention and it's like, oh, by the way, we fired those people. And it's like, wait, you what? You what? That sounds like it's retaliatory. Well, it's not retaliatory. Yeah, but it sounds retaliatory. Well, no. We fired all those people for different reasons. Yeah, but they all protested against you, right? Yeah, they did. But we didn't fire them for that reason. It looks really, really bad. And the thing is, it's going to cause a double negative. Because once they protest your company, it's already news. So you might as well write it out. But then you fire them on top of it. Guess what? The news sticks with you. And we're still talking about this because of this. And of course, I don't like Amazon. I have to be perfectly upfront about that. Oh, hey, Dustin, how you doing? Nice that homeschool's over. Anyway, I've been talking about it for a while. I don't like Amazon. And I'm looking forward to them getting investigated. But one of the reasons I look forward to them getting investigated and all this stuff is because they are consistently breaking rules, and I think they need to be called to task for doing so. And I think the walls are closing in. They're facing the antitrust allegations in the EU, and now they are facing this investigation that they retaliated against their workers, which is against the law, especially during a pandemic. So I'm looking forward to seeing, I think the walls are closing in. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens to Amazon. You constantly have more and more people demanding that they break up. More and more people are looking at them as not friends, but as necessary evils. Kind of like credit cards. Like, a credit card is not your friend, but it's a necessary evil. But what happens when the necessary evil gets so big and you depend so much on it that it really has a negative effect on not only your life, but everyone's life? That's what people are starting to realize. So here's the thing. I'm looking forward to this. I think it's going to happen. And, I'm curious. What do you think? Do you think they should be broken up? Do you think they are going to be broken up? What do you think is going to come from this investigation? I'd love to know. Comment below. Like, favorite, share, subscribe. And as always, flame responsibly. Now, since we're talking about Amazon, and I see there's like 15 people watching this live. And I am really curious what you folks in the audience think about this one. So please, if you're going to start commenting about a specific story, this is the one you kind of want to comment on, because I am really curious where people stand on this one. But Amazon is seriously considering removing the Dukes of Hazzard from the streaming service because of General Lee's Confederate flag. And in fact, if you don't know what that looks like, let me pull this up. I believe it's their car. I believe it's their car that does this. Yeah, here it is. So this is the Dukes of Hazzard car. And as you can see, there is a Confederate flag on top of the vehicle. And it's there probably because the characters live in the South. Now, I'm going to be perfectly frank about this show and this car. I don't like the Dukes of Hazzard. I think this is an awful, awful show. Do I think it's a particularly racist show? No. I think the flag is there more out of ignorance than malice. I think because there's still people who view the flag as a symbol of independence, when it really isn't. The flag is, from my perspective, a flag that symbolizes slavery and racism, because it's like, yeah, the South wanted to succeed from the nation and maintain their independence, but they wanted to do so primarily because they didn't want to free their slaves. So, yeah, I mean, the two are not mutually exclusive. The flag can symbolize independence, but it also signifies that they didn't want to leave that independence because they didn't want to get rid of their slaves. And as a result, the show has been controversial for a long time, which is funny because this is an awful show. This is a terrible, terrible show, and it's boring. It is so damn boring. Like, have any of you actually really sat down and watched the Dukes of Hazzard? Like, in today. I'm not talking about when you were a kid and it was on TV Land or the local UPN network. Have you really sat down and watched the Dukes of Hazzard? This thing is boring. It's so bad that, shoot, the Owen Wilson and Ben Stiller movie is better. Actually, the Dukes of Hazzard movie is one of the few TV to movie adaptations that's really not that bad. And probably the best part about that is Snoop Dogg as Kissy Fuzz or something, like Fuzzy something. I don't know. He's like a pimp. It's really funny. However, here's the thing. This show, which is truly benign and truly boring, and I don't think anyone really likes it that much anymore, might be removed from Amazon. Now, here's what the story says. The Dukes of Hazzard was one of the more popular comedies from the 1980s, which kind of goes to show we would watch anything. Of course, I lived through the whole Full House getting 8 seasons, so, there you go. But it may soon be taken down from Amazon's IMDb TV streaming service, according to multiple reports. Amazon executives are now evaluating whether to remove the Dukes of Hazzard from IMDb TV because of its depiction of the Confederate flag painted on the show's General Lee race car, Vulture and Variety are reporting. No decision has been made, according to the reports, but if Amazon executives decide to make the moves, the show's 7 seasons could be immediately removed. So we all know why this is happening. We're looking at old things with, new eyes. But my argument for everything has been, look, it's in the past. You can't change the past. It happened. It's a fact. But what you also can't do is you can't be removing the past just because there's elements about it you don't like. Because if you forget that it happened, if you try to remove things because you don't like it, then we will never learn from it. There are honestly people out there who think the Holocaust never happened. And I would hate for us to get to the point where it's like we start removing these books, we start removing these movies, we start removing these paintings, and it's like racism never existed. See, we're good. We're good people. We removed it, and then 10 years later, you have a new generation. They don't even know these images exist, and then they start treating other people that way, and they're not aware of the history that, hey, we've done stuff like this before, and we remember because we don't want to do this again. And here's another thing, and I'm just going to state this right now. When you start removing things, you start making the product so desirable because it's like forbidden fruit at that point. What is it they don't want me to see? What is it that, is so offensive? And they really want to seek it out. Removing Gone with the Wind, even though it was temporary, didn't really do anything except bring attention to the movie and make my Blu-ray worth a heck of a lot more money than it normally would be worth. Can you imagine a lot of people singing the praises of the Dukes of Hazzard because you basically can't watch it anymore? And so it's like, it was a classic show, it was a great show, and because this image was in it, nobody wanted to know. It was a bad show. It was an awful show. It was boring. And yeah, its esteem has gone up because we have removed it from circulation. We don't like it when things are removed. Because here's the thing. I'm going to use Gone with the Wind for an example. And that's a great movie, and I love that movie. But was anyone really wanting to stream or watch Gone with the Wind this weekend? Probably not. But now that HBO Max removed it, now everybody wants to watch it. You just bring attention to this thing. And in most cases, it's not even that racists want to watch this. It's just people want to watch it. I was talking to someone on Twitter, I know, bad idea, about Song of the South, and I said, Song of the South really should be released with context, because to keep it out of circulation without context, people think it's the birth of a nation, when it's really Gone with the Wind light, and it's kind of boring. So let's release it with context and move on to real problems again. It's really not that bad. It's bad, but it's not that bad. Let's take away the mystery, let's put it out there, let everyone see it, realize it's really not that big of a deal one way or the other. It's just by far the most awkward thing you're ever going to see from Disney. And move on with your life. Just move on with your life. And he responded, yeah, because now it's forbidden fruit for racists, and once they realize how benign it is, they won't care. And it's like, well, I don't want to go that far, because growing up, Song of the South was like, I wanted to see that movie so bad because Disney said I couldn't. And it became forbidden fruit, and, I have a lot of black friends. I was kind of like thinking, like, how bad can it be? And I really wanted to see this movie. That didn't make me a racist. I was an animation fan. I wanted to see it. And then I saw it, and it was okay. I like the animation sequences a heck of a lot, that's for sure. But, yeah, the live action scenes, that, here's just a little mini review. The Zippity Doodah sequence is definitely pure movie magic. It's one of those few moments where it's like, oh, wow, that's just so classic. But most of the movie, I don't really care about little Johnny and his friendship with the girl and the boy, and I'm not that interested in the conflict. Can he keep the puppy? Or this is Song of the South, folks. It's really an awkward movie. But now we're doing with the Dukes of Hazzard, and the last thing I want is for the Dukes of Hazzard, of all things, to get this big esteem push because Amazon's removing it, and it's starting to be removed from streaming services. Like, why on earth are we going to give this, of all shows, the attention it really does not deserve? It's an awful show, folks. So let's look at some of the comments. Darn it! No one's commenting on this one. Man, I wanted people's opinion on this one more. Oh well, we'll look at the few people who did say something. So, Jody says it is 2020 and people need to grow up about that. And then she says, I believe Amazon is going to be investigating the IRS also. Yeah, okay, well, I agree with both of them. And yeah, well, in telling people that they need to grow up about it, I don't think that's the solution either. Because if someone looks at those images, and you have to keep in mind, the Confederate flag on the Dukes of Hazzard car has no meaning other than ignorance. People just, they were making the show, they saw Confederate flags on people's cars, they put it on the car in their show. It didn't mean anything to the producers as far as I'm aware, but you can't tell people to look at that and say, and they say, hey, I'm offended by that, and then you say, hey, grow up. No, you have to say, well, why does that offend you? And they can explain. It's like, okay, well, here's why I think it's there. And I understand why you are upset about it, but this is what I think it means. I don't think they meant any harm by it, and maybe that's why it is harmful, because they didn't mean any harm by it, and they, it's kind of like that kid that 5-year-old who on the street hears someone saying, the F word, the N word, the S word, whatever curse word you want, and they hear it, and they don't know what that word means. They just hear these words being said to someone, and then they go home and they say it to someone else, and before they know it, they have hurt someone's feelings. They didn't mean to, but they did because they didn't know what was going on. I believe that's what was going on with the producers. They were just not thinking clearly. And so we can't make the same mistake that when someone looks at it and say, this show offends me because of this, we can't brush it off and say, well, you need to grow up. I believe that we need to say, well, why does that offend you? Why does that hurt you? Let them explain it and say, I understand where you're coming from. Here's why I think it's there, but I understand where you're coming from. And show some sympathy, and then and then maybe kindly suggest that person, if it offends you that much, you probably shouldn't watch it. And, let people come to their own conclusion. The only thing this is going to do, by the way, I'm just going to say this right now, is it's going to make those Dukes of Hazzard DVDs worth a lot of money. Like, if they remove Dukes of Hazzard from streaming services, all those DVDs that are out there, which I think are out of print now, they're going to be worth bank. So, if you, oh my gosh, we're going to make the Dukes of Hazzard worth a lot of money on eBay. I can't believe this. So, Steven says, I don't know about older films I don't know. I know about older films are bad, but still should be shown. And I believe, in a good environment. Like I'm not against putting context on these things. I'm not offended. Like, I have a Breakfast at Tiffany's Blu-ray, and Breakfast at Tiffany's, if you've seen it, you might remember a lot of things. You might remember that wonderful Moon River song, that Oscar-winning song. You might remember Audrey Hepburn, and you might remember that scene where she kisses in the rain and they're holding the cat, and you might remember all those things. What most people don't remember, or they kind of choose not to remember, is Mr. Yoshinoya by Mickey Rooney. Mickey Rooney is in yellow face with these big glasses and buck teeth. He's like, and forgive me for showing an example, like, I am not this, you must not disturb me, and it is cringeworthy. It is so cringeworthy. But it's still on Blu-ray, and there is a special feature on there where they discuss the character, the damage it did to the Asian community, and how they no longer feel this way, but how they don't want to hide this and act like this never happened. No, unfortunately, we did feel this way. So, that's my opinion. I don't mind contextualizing things, but once you start trying to censor it, and once you starting to remove it, guess what? People will still find it, and then they'll be finding it without the context. By the way, Donnie is here, and I have not deleted my channel. I deleted my Facebook, and he commented, "I guess we're gonna have to not watch The Color Purple." I don't think The Color Purple has that many people against it. There's just two major issues people have with that. One, it's directed by Steven Spielberg, and two, because of the way it was adapted, it takes place primarily from the women's point of view, which is when the men are at their worst. So it shows African-American men as really bad. But that's one of my favorite movies. I love that movie. But I do agree that Roots is probably next. They will probably remove Roots. Anyway, we spent a heck of a lot of time on this one, more than I really anticipated. But hey, you know what? It's worth talking about, and it's worth hearing from you about. What do you think about this situation? Do you think Amazon should be removing the Dukes of Hazzard, or do you think they should keep it up there, or do you think the Dukes of Hazzard should maybe go somewhere else where it could be put into proper context? I would love to know. Comment below, like, favorite, share, subscribe, and as always, flame responsibly. I need to take another sip, and then we'll get to the next topic, folks. So, okay, and with that down, we're going to go on to topic number 5. We're up to 5 topics right now. And this is definitely a very recent thing, and it's going to be another touchy subject, unfortunately. However, you might have remembered like last week, during the height of the protests, Uber sent out a email that they stood with Black Lives. And we went through the whole letter and we broke it down. And there was one part in the email where Uber said that they were going to basically be waiving delivery fees if the restaurant was owned by a black person. And they were also potentially going to be giving discounts to those people if the restaurant was owned by black people. Now, I said at the time, and I said to, it's a nice gesture, but here's the thing. That does not solve the discrimination problem, because the whole reason we have anti-discrimination laws is that you do not change your business practices or how you deal with people based on the color of their skin. In any way, so if you start saying, oh, you're black, therefore I'm giving you a discount, and you're white, well, you're part of the patriarchy, so you have to pay the regular rate, that is discrimination. Now, I didn't complain about that too much at the time because I understood that I read the room, it was sensitive. We're still a little sensitive about that. We're mad. We want racism to stop. And, unfortunately, black people in America have been given raw deals many times, and I understand why they're upset. Unfortunately, this gesture I said in that video would just cause problems, and, well, it sure has. Now, this is a commentary. This has not come to pass yet. But from CNS News, here's how non-black restaurant owners could sue Uber. And this pretty much confirms what I was saying. Now, he writes, Uber and Postmates are waiving delivery fees for black restaurants, reports the Washington Free Beacon. This is an obvious violation of the federal law banning racial discrimination in contracts, 42 U.S.C. 1981. Uber and Postmates are discriminating against restaurants based on the race of their owners. Restaurants that are not black owned could easily bring a class action lawsuit against Uber under Section 1981, seeking many millions of dollars in damages. The Supreme Court has ruled that excluding whites from a benefit based on their race violates this law, even when the exclusion is not total, but rather just gives minorities a quota or awards them a substantial bonus for being black. For example, it ruled that racial discrimination in college admissions violated Section 1981 as well as Title VI of the Civil Rights Act and the Constitution, when it was committed by a university that automatically awarded black and Hispanic applicants a large number of bonus points for being minorities. See Gratz versus Bollinger, 539 U.S. 244-276, number 23, year 2003. You've got to love how they put these numbers together. Yet Uber and Postmates are totally excluding restaurants owned by whites, Hispanics, and Asians from the benefit of free delivery. As the Free Beacon notes, the programs announced by Uber Eats and Postmates following the death of George Floyd at the hands of police waive delivery fees for black-owned restaurants, but makes no such benefit available to other minority or white-owned business. This isn't just like, against white-owned business. If you're an Asian and you own a business, if you're Palestine, if you're Hispanic or Palestinian, I think that's the correct term, I don't know. If you're Puerto Rican, then you also do not get this. And then, of course, you have all the other white minorities like Russians and Germans and, stuff like that. But they are violating the law. Now, this article, which in the separate video I will link to so you can watch the whole thing, more or less confirmed my suspicion at the time. And at the time, again, I said I understand why they want to do this. They want to show that they are comrades. They want to show that they support this community. And, of course, they want to also encourage black owners who have restaurants to sign up with their Uber Eats and Postmates platforms. But I said a couple things. First of all, I said that this still doesn't really help their restaurants because, yeah, they're waiving the delivery fee, but that's like somewhere between 50 cents to $5. It kind of depends. And that's just one fee. They have a bunch of other fees tacked on that they still have to pay, and it doesn't matter. You're not benefiting from selling your food through Uber Eats or Postmates or really any of this. So that's one of the things I said. But then I also said, hey, this could be a problem, okay? This could be a real problem. Because once you do this, you are giving preferential treatment to someone based on the color of their skin. That is exactly what Martin Luther King did not want. And at the time, it sounds really good. Like, okay, black businesses, they've been given a raw deal, so, we're going to give them a little bit of helping hand. But they're doing it in the wrong way. Really, if they wanted to support them, they should have contributed to more black charities. They should contribute to organizations that want to reform prisons, reform police, make it so that, there's better accountability when it comes to these things happening. But you don't make a business decision based on race. That is not going to work out for you in the long run. And I would not be surprised if Uber and Postmates did get sued because of this, if they actually put it into practice. So, anyway, again, that's a sensitive topic, I know, but I would still like to know what you think about it. Do you think Uber and Postmates should be sued over this, or do you agree with them? And it's fine if you agree with them. I would like to know why you agree with them. So comment below, like, favorite, share, subscribe, and I'm interested to please flame responsibly. Again, I know this is a sensitive topic, but we all want to hear each other out in all of this. But with that said, let's get on to the sixth topic. And the sixth topic, the next two topics, which will then more or less bring this show to an end, and then we will do a little back and forth with the chat, are fun topics. So, Disney Plus. And no, we're not going to be talking about Artemis Fowl. I know they dropped it on the streaming service today. I haven't watched it. I think we're going to watch it tonight. We're going to have some pizza and watch it because, fun fact, yesterday was the 131st birthday of the creation of pizza. So we're going to buy some pizza tonight and watch Artemis Fowl. I would have much rather watched the Spike Lee film on Netflix, but, my wife, she preferred Artemis Fowl, so, But that's not what this is about. This is actually about Disney hiding movies from kids on their service. Now, you look at this article and you kind of wonder, what on earth is this about? This doesn't make a lot of sense, because Disney Plus is considered the kids-friendly service. So why would they be hiding kids? Well, there's a little bit of we need to explain something. For most people, when they go to Disney Plus, this is what it's going to look like. This is what their interface is. It's a very good interface, by the way. In fact, I think Disney Plus probably has one of the best interfaces out there. Considering if you're looking for branding interface, if you're looking for category interface, it's still a little shaky, but, there you go. But there is actually a family mode, a kids mode, I should say, for kids. In case parents really do not want to leave their kids in front and have them watching like a PG-13 film that maybe they shouldn't be watching. So, if you set up your kids mode, this is what it's going to look like. As you can see, the blue is much brighter, and it highlights Mickey Mouse, princesses, superheroes, Disney Junior. The first thing you see is Mickey Mouse Clubhouse and nature animals. And I have also made a video how you can activate this. So, once this goes to its separate video, we'll put that up there, a link, so that you can actually go. But the strange thing is like what Disney decides to filter out is kind of interesting. So let's go down a little bit to see what's being excluded. Now, here's the thing. When you set up the kids mode for Disney Plus, the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies and the Star Wars films aren't available under the kids profile, which isn't surprising. Pretty much anything that with a PG rating or stronger is gone. However, those aren't the only movies that are gone, and some of the exclusions are really strange. So, some of the movies that are not on kids mode include Moana, Cars 3, Onward, and the original Fantasia. Now, Cars 3 and Fantasia are rated G. But it gets even weirder, because Cars 3 is unavailable, but the first two installments, which are also rated G, and by the way, 2 was the most violent, are on the kids' profile mode. Also, Atlantis the Lost Empire is not there, but you can watch the direct-to-video sequel. Which, by the way, the direct-to-video sequel is G, the original is PG, that might be why. You can watch the original Lady and the Tramp, but not the recent remake. And here's the thing. It's not even the rating. Because as pointed out, Cars 3 is rated G, just like Cars 1 and 2, but for some reason Cars 3 isn't on the kids mode. But Frozen and Frozen 2, which receive PG ratings, are both available. And then you have the Princess Diary movies. Both those movies are rated G, but they're not on the kids mode. Why? I don't know. And it just gets strange. Because here's the other thing. Cars 3 is not in the kids mode, but The Lion King, a pretty intense G-rated film, is available on it. But the remake, which is really no different when you get down to it, they're the same movies, only the second one's worse. That's not there. But, yeah, so this is just really, really funny. Also, Finding Nemo, as they point out here, has a character die in the opening minutes. But you can watch this on the kids mode for Disney+. Finding Dory, however, which also, for some reason, Finding Dory is rated PG. I do not know why. Like, that, I can't even think of anything. Like, no one dies in that one. But you can't watch that on the kids mode. So, now, I'm not going to get behind them with Fantasia. I think Fantasia has a couple things. First of all, that night on Bald Mountain sequence is pretty intense. It is. And it's the closest thing that you have to animated nudity on a Disney movie. And it's also slow. It's super slow. And I remember having a hard time getting into it as a kid. So I think Fantasia, that's just not one that makes sense to put on the kids mode. Interestingly, Fantasia 2000, which I think is a lot more kid-friendly, is available. So, this was not like a big deal. And I think most people here would agree that this is just more strange than anything. But, hey, what the heck? It's funny. That's what I say. Now, I'm kind of curious. What do all of you think about these exclusions on Disney+? Do you agree with them? Do you not agree with them? I would love to know. Comment below. Like, favorite, share, subscribe. And as always, flame responsibly. And with that done, let's move on to our last topic of the day. This is our last topic of the day, and then we will go over the chat. We will answer questions. We'll do a little back and forth. So if you have any questions to ask, any comments you want to see addressed, now's your time to do it, and we will be getting to them in somewhere between 5 to 10 minutes. But let's talk about Quibi. Does anyone here own Quibi? I have Quibi. For those of you who are not aware what Quibi is, it's a streaming service that's limited to your mobile phone. And it keeps getting removed from my main screen, but there you go. That's what it is. Oh, that's the logo anyway. Quibi! It stands for Quick Bites. And, videos that are, by the way, this dummy show is stupid. Actually, most of these shows are pretty bad. The only two shows that I truly love is the LeBron James documentary, which is way better than you think it is, and Reno 911, which actually makes sense in short segments. But this was and here's the thing, this service, it made a little bit of sense when they announced it. It's going to be exclusive for the phone. It's for commuting, or maybe Uber drivers who have a few minutes between rides, just sit there and watch a movie. Some people, it's something you could watch in little bits. But here's the problem. It launched during a pandemic. people are at home. They don't want to watch stuff on a phone. They want to watch stuff on a TV. And so as a result, nobody wanted to sign up for it. And then the reviews came in and we found out most of the shows weren't very good. Well, it seems like Quibi is definitely realizing that the whole mobile phone exclusive thing isn't working so much, because they have announced that they are adding Chromecast support for watching shows on the big screen. So, streaming service Quibi has updated its iOS app to support streaming to a television using Google Chromecast. So this is crazy. They've updated the iOS app to stream television using Chromecast. They're using the Apple format to stream on a Google device, but they're instead of the Apple device. And if you have a Google phone, I guess you can't do this right now. Quibi was so mismanaged from the get-go. The update, released Tuesday, arrives a couple weeks after Quibi added AirPlay support. Oh, it did add AirPlay support, okay. Which at the time marked the first way to stream its shows and other short-form videos beyond a mobile screen. As of Tuesday evening, the Android version of the app, which was last updated on May 20th, does not appear to support Chromecast streaming yet. Okay, so there, it stands. So, here's the thing. Quibi did say at one point, and they said very shortly after they launched, that they were going to be adding apps on, Apple TV, the Roku, and the Amazon Fire Stick, so that you could eventually watch their shows on the TV. And I think that should have been there on day one, but they kind of wanted to get the gimmick out of the way. But again, it was a bad time to do this gimmick. People are at home. They don't want to sit on the bed or in a chair looking at a mobile phone. They want to relax on the couch and watch things on a TV. That's what they want to do. And it didn't work out that way. So I don't know if this can actually save Quibi. I think they need to have better shows. Reno 911 was definitely a step in the right direction. That's a show that could sell people on Quibi. It's also really the only thing I'm still watching on it, if I'm being perfectly frank with you. I have a notification to cancel the service, because when I signed up for it, I was given 3 months free. I'm pretty sure that 3 months trial is coming to an end, and it seems very, very unlikely that I'm going to continue to subscribe to the service. I just don't think that's going to happen. So anyway, my question, of course, for all of you, because look, many of you are Uber drivers. So this actually seems like something that you might be able to use during the breaks between passengers. But do any of you have it? And do any of you want it? And has anyone here tried it? I mean, like I said, it's a really weird thing overall. But I would like to know what you think. So you know the drill. Comment below. Like, favorite, share, subscribe, and as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one. And with that down, it's time to go to the chat. And now, I don't know how long this is going to take. I don't see a whole lot of comments, so it probably won't take too long. But at least for the next 30 minutes or so, I'll give myself 30 minutes to, do everything. So, I don't know how many people are still in here, though, but we had Andrew, hello. WogDKMM says, wear the mask. That is in reference to the main topic that the UK was going to start requiring Uber drivers and passengers to wear masks. So, WogDKMM believes you should wear the mask. And Steven is here, hello. And Morgan Trucking said, hey, El Chapo. So El Chapo must be in the room. Jody says, if you ask me if Uber was going to require masks, they should have done it a long time ago, not to try to look like the good person about it now. Yeah, I agree. And Jody says, okay, yeah, we addressed those comments. So Dustin says, what's going on, Kevin, everyone? Well, Dustin, you're probably not here anymore, but yeah, you saw what's going on, just doing the daily live stream. Jody says, Amazon most certainly broke labor laws. I believe they have, and it will be up to a court to prove that, of course. And Dustin says, it's like if you talk, you gotta walk. And so that's Dustin agreeing that Amazon more than likely fired employees for speaking out against them. Let's see here. And it's nice to have Donnie back. And Rideshare Source Drive says Jim Carrey is the Mask. He certainly was. I'm not sure why you said that, but I still enjoy The Mask. Haven't watched it in many years, but I do enjoy The Mask. So now Jody says that she thinks the Green Mile will be taken. I don't think it will. I think it'd be a harder case making the Green Mile because, you know, the black guy who was in that movie was a prisoner. He was a wrongfully committed prisoner, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe someone would have a problem with that, but I have a hard time thinking that the Green Mile is going to become problematic, but I could be wrong. So, Rideshare Source Driver says, where can I watch Webster sitcom? Let me see. I have never heard of this show. So, well, not, one sec. Let me see if this is actually, So, not that I really want to support it or anything, but you can, or at least you could at one point, stream Webster on Amazon Prime. This title is currently unavailable. This might actually be recent. They might have actually pulled the show recently. So, yeah, shoot, heck if I know. Heck if I know. Decider. Decider's a great website to use if you want to find out where you can stream stuff. 2.5 stars. So where to stream Webster? Hulu, YouTube, Google Play, more options. So apparently you can watch it on Hulu. But it says the page you're looking for cannot be found. So it might not, I don't know, maybe this show was pulled because of everything that's going on. I don't know. It looks like a 80s show, like, you know, okay, so, you know, sitcom parents adopt a kid. I mean, that's what it looks like, but I don't know where you can actually watch it right now. So, yeah, you might have to sail the 7 seas to find that one at this point. I don't know. Jody says Uber is a racist sack of you-know-what. Yeah, we addressed that. Rideshare Source Drive says, what we have is not racism. It's called sadism. Recidivism, domestic terrorism. People have morals, values, worse upbringing, 10 times for the wrench. I don't know if I completely agree with that. That's definitely above what this channel typically talks about. I don't believe it's an either or. I believe we have racism, and I believe we have bad values. We just have to learn to live with one another and be friends and find a compromise. So, it's just we have a bunch of problems and we just need to solve. So, Rideshare Source says watch Fat Pizza sitcom, super funny. Let's see here. Is that a oh. Wow. So is this what you're talking about? Pizza / Fat Pizza is an Australia comedy television series created by Paul Fenech. So, and there was a movie. So there's 6 seasons of this show that I've never heard of, and there's a movie. Like, wow, that's interesting. You learn something new every single day. So, Michael says, we need to see your hair. Well, the way we used to do it is you would drop a super chat, and if we got to a certain point in the super chats, then we would do the show without the hat. Until then, stays on. He also says, Anne Hathaway went to my high school. Well, that's neat. Did you know her personally, or was she just attending there? So, Jody says the country is a monopolistic oligarchy. This is why big companies think they have majority and why small businesses are going to die. I don't disagree. I think everyone's starting to realize that we've let some of these companies get way too big. And here's the thing. I'm all for capitalism, okay? I am a capitalist at heart. But that doesn't mean I can't have some common sense where it's like, hey, when there's like one company, or there's like, a few companies that are controlling 40, 50, 60% of markets and no one can compete with them, I look at that, and as a capitalist, it's like, that's a little dangerous, I think. Because other people should also have a chance to have success. And when you become like $1 trillion company and you're not doing anything with that money, like, I agree. It's like, there's some issues I have with that. So I'm in favor of, I would be personally okay, like, if we started removing vertical integration. I think vertical integration is probably one of the worst things that happen to businesses because it gets people, locked into a company, and when that company decides to go into another business, then people just continue to spread. Like, I'm definitely in favor of, like, hey, you can sell the book or you can publish the book, but you can't do both. So that's my stance on it anyway. And that's also the last comment for the chat room. Again, this could go on a lot longer, folks, if you leave comments throughout the show. So, please do that in the future. Leave your questions, your comments, even if I can't respond to them right away, because at the end, I like to do the back and forth, and it's good to have things we can do that with. But in the meantime, that will bring this episode of the Apptrepreneur Show to an end. Thank you for joining me. We will be splitting up the topics across the various channels, and well, there will not be an Apptrepreneur Show tomorrow because it's Saturday, and if we do a live stream Sunday, it'll be a chill live stream. But that said, if you are watching this whole thing, well, I want to know what you think about any of these topics. You know the drill. Comment below, like, favorite, share, subscribe, and as always, flame response.